Welcome to the College of Wealth podcast, the ultimate financial guide to help you understand your financial stresses and how you can build from it. Your lessons won't be in class, and your projects can either save you or earn you money. We host episodes 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to help you reach your financial freedom. Now let's get started with your hosts, Owen, Paradis, and William Goulet.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
I'll let you do it. This is all you, Owen.
What do you mean it's just me?
I didn't join in this time.
I'm just restarting this. I don't like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's like, no.
And we can restart it. No problem.
Okay. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Hello.
How's it going?
Hello, everyone. My name is Owen Paradis. I'm here with my co-host, William Goulet, and we're proud to present to you the College of Wealth podcast.
Podcast.
The enthusiasm with the hand movements. I love it.
Thank you very much.
This is a financial podcast that teaches you the latest and greatest information about money, because at the end of the day, this is a crazy money-making world.
Yes, crazy in many a sense. Well, actually, we've seen some people lose boku bucks recently in crypto.
Yeah.
So
gosh, yes.
Yeah, so we definitely see how it's crazy.
Yes.
And then money making, there's always two sides to every transaction. So if you're losing money, someone's making money somewhere else, So.
Somewhere else, unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. But I do agree with that there. So because it's a money-making podcast and we talk about money, we do like to indicate to our listeners that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes, and I have a note on that too, if I could, Owen.
Okay.
So when we say entertainment purposes only, I don't know. I guess it doesn't sell the quality of the information that we're doing, which is based off of research and stats and facts and opinions too, our own opinion.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think we should qualify. I think we should raise its value and make it part of our pitch.
Okay.
I'm coming up with a new word, so let me know what you think here.
Okay. Yes.
But I'm thinking we could call it something like informational entertainment.
I like that. Yeah. It works.
Really? You like it? Well, okay, if you like that, then you'll love the shortcut that I came up for it.
But wait, there's more.
There is more. There's always more. Infotainment, that way it sort of describes us.
Oh my God, my mind is blown here, people.
Flabbergasted.
He is a madman. I love it. Infotainment.
That's us.
Amazing. I'm giving that. Oh my God, what's his name? WWE. Vince McMahon, who's like,
yeah,
giving that face there over the infotainment.
That was quite the visual for our YouTube listeners.
But yeah, I mean, we've done this 140 times now, so we also like to clarify to everyone, because we call it infotainment, we also did have a second part to this, identify that both Will nor myself, we are not financial advisors by any means.
Not me, Owen. Not me.
I am not either. I
that
am not either.
Fair.
But because of that, though, we do also like to validate our passion for this kind of stuff. We do have a business degree. Like we both graduated in business with a bachelor's degree. We both work in business. I work in finance. Will works in marketing.
Yes.
And it's just to show that we're truly passionate about this kind of stuff since we were kids, honestly.
You said it best. Validate. Our interest is valid, not just in any way, the Gen Z way of validate.
Talking about validate, all I think about is Twitter and that whole dumpster fire going on.
Oh, yeah.
For only $8, all the information on that we're talking to you is valid.
Yeah,
for only $8.
Price. Yeah.
And
well, I think it speaks to how much importance people attributed to that rating, to that validation.
Oh my gosh, yes.
if people were attributing that much, then I definitely know some people that shouldn't have been verified that were.
You know what though? In all honesty, I was there and I'm like, there's got to be some prerequisites to this. I have about 600 followers on Twitter, and I was like, there's got to be some form of some form of platform or threshold. And I've seen people with like following 200 people, and they're being followed by 100 people, and they're verified. And I'm like, this kind of throws everything out the window here.
Yeah, well, we've seen that they have two different items, two different verification, badges, and why they're verified. But I think he said it best. He said, we're going to try a bunch of funky things in the next few months. Some of it's going to stick, some of it's going to suck. So, I see where they're going with it.
Interesting to say the least, and funky.
Yeah. People put a lot of importance to it. That was crazy.
Oh yes.
Well, I don't know. Last little scoop is, people were actually going through the back door, and these were verification employees that would say, "Hey, give me $10,000 and I'll verify you, no problem."
Oh yes. Oh, I've known, like I follow some people that have like 10,000 followers, 15,000 followers, and I follow them enough to I can have conversations with them, and they've said it. Like, I've been applying to try and become verified, and I know some people who have less followers than me, like a third of the following, and they're verified. And here I am with 500 following, 15,000 followers, and Twitter is like, no, not interested.
Yeah, so it's one way to get rid of the corruption and backdoor deals that were going on before.
That's true.
They're at the cost of what?
Yeah. So a little bit of a tangent about Twitter on this side here, but
crazy money making world. What can we say?
Yeah. Not only do we love that kind of stuff, we also love two other things to this podcast. And I mean, we have to go in, like, it is the start of our podcast.
I'd love to jump in.
No, it's just like it's the signal to the start of our podcast.
It's true. Here we go. Here's one thing that we love to do, right? We love to save money.
For sure.
When we hear the announcements of things like $8 a month for Twitter verification, we're like, what? Do we really need that? How much value does that really add? And we, at the end of the day, we might say, no, that's not very interesting to me. And, we save money.
Yep.
In some other cases, we don't go backdoor and do deals, but we find other ways to generate additional income. In other words, we love to make money.
Money.
That's right.
I had to go and we had to go and jump into that before anything, because it is the start of our podcast. A little bit of discussion prior to this, a little bit of fun in general. Got a little bit of housekeeping to go and say before we actually start episode 140.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure to go and check us out on Apple or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, just to go and give us a 5-star review. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you haven't done so, leave a comment as well. Helps with the algorithm. Mm-hmm. Speaking about comments, go and check us out on YouTube. Just this episode in general, we had so many ridiculous faces that we're making. Subscribe to us, give us I can't say review, but give a comment, give a like. Doesn't even cost $8, it costs $0.
Bookmark us, put us in your favorites, tag us in some stuff,
Exactly.
You know how to engage, the viewers, the listeners, they know how to do it best on each platform at this point.
Oh yeah, obviously there. And then of course TikTok and Instagram as well, if anyone doesn't know about that either.
Yep, double tap to like, share, classic.
So without further ado, we got to jump into episode 140.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how to move up on the corporate ladder.
Ah, yes. That's right, because, it's easy to always go on and talk about entrepreneurship and this and that, but there's more than one way to make money.
There is.
And it's a perfectly acceptable way. No, not everyone is designed to go their own way, right? So, right on.
We have 4 different ways, like 4 things that I find that are extremely important to be doing if you're planning to go move up the corporate ladder, and that's a way to go. There is a valid way to make boatloads of cash Yeah, with this. And along that, we also have to include our statistics at the start. Three stats and a fun fact.
Of course.
Of course. So without further ado, we got to jump into our first stat.
Statman.
And it's more of a, what is the most common trait for promotion, for a reason for promotion?
Oh, trait would be ability to work in a team.
So, yeah, team leader or team management skills is what you're saying.
Yeah, let's call it people skills. It's directly
Okay.
people skills.
The number one most common trait that leads to promotion is actually confidence.
Okay.
60% of the people that LinkedIn surveyed, recruiters said it was actually confidence that was the number one factor to this.
Interesting. It now, is this from the employer standpoint? Or
Yes.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting.
Our second stat, this one's actually kind of sad, but happy and interesting at the same time. I saw a lot of information, so I just want to keep it to one stat in general.
Yeah.
It takes women longer to go up the corporate ladder, unfortunately.
Okay.
How much longer does it take for women to get to that executive role?
Oh, man.
Percentage
So hard to
wise.
say. 10%.
30%.
Really?
30% longer.
Interesting. And this is for the executive role.
Yes.
Okay.
However, I also have to include that women who are in executive roles tend to also be more of team leaders and also seem to create bigger impacts on the company when they are in an executive role.
Oh, okay. So the women who do make it have a bigger impact on the overall results. Interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you see that too, where people are looking for women leaders, you know, and it, probably because those who are there tend to be more qualified than the man who's at that stage.
For sure. Exactly.
I don't know if it's qualified, but at least bring more value.
Bring more to the table.
Yeah.
So our third stat here, and this one is actually a bit of interesting. This is psychology. What percentage of males aspire to become CEOs?
28%.
59%.
Whoa, 59%.
59% aspire to become a CEO of a company at one point.
Do you aspire to be CEO?
I'd like to be a business owner, so I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. I guess
I'd like to be more
climbing.
of a, yeah, because I'd like to run my own business more than run someone else's business.
Yeah, you want to be owner operator, right?
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. And as for females or women, it's 40%.
Okay. Wow. I wouldn't even have guessed 40% for men, so I'm surprised all around.
Yeah, and this is according to it was a Working Mothers Research Institute was the statistic that it came from.
Interesting.
And this is a fun fact, very, very interesting fun fact here.
Yeah.
And this is totally left field, but it's business procedures. But I don't know if you've ever been to a Starbucks and noticed about their tables. What's unique about the tables at Starbucks?
Are they round?
They are round, correct.
Okay.
And do you know why they're round? There's an actual reason behind why Starbucks tables are round.
Oh, because it makes everyone around the table feel a little bit closer together.
Right approach, wrong concept.
Okay.
The reason behind why Starbucks has round tables is it makes people feel less alone or look less alone. And
really?
A round table makes it more welcoming versus a square table where it has edges, defines the location of where people are supposed to sit. So when you have a table that has no edges, it makes people look less alone. It encourages people to lounge around, to hang out with their friends, and just overall be more comfortable at Starbucks. And when that happens, it means more money being made at Starbucks.
Yeah, you might take a little bit more creative freedom. You might be wanting to spend more time there. And the more time spent, the more odds you're going to spend money.
Yep.
especially once you get all the whiff of the baked goods coming around.
So there's literally a science behind as to why they take round tables over square ones.
Interesting. That's good.
Yeah. So now that we got our stats and fun fact out of the way here,
Yes.
we must speak about our first segment, or our first reason or first way to go up the corporate ladder. And this is something that should be done as soon as you can.
Okay.
Create yourself a master plan or a blueprint on pen and paper.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's just really important to what exactly do you want? Do you want to become CEO? Well, okay, well, what are you going to do to get to there? What exactly? The best way to do it is look at your corporate ladder, corporate structure. How many bosses do you have on top of you to reach that? Like, are there some positions that you can hop to within it that can maybe skip a role or whatnot?
Yeah.
Maybe check out what you have to do. And so on top of that, define what your goals are for 1 year, 5 year, 10 years plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It takes a long time to go up a ladder. It's not done overnight, but there are certain ways that you can go to increase your odds of moving up the ladder faster. And we're going to be talking about that throughout this episode in general.
Yeah.
And the best way you can also look at it is also just define what do your bosses have in accreditations as well. So who's your boss? Like a boss that you like in general, who has a good reputation. It's probably not best to look at a boss that's not really liked.
Sure.
Do they have their master's degree or a bachelor's degree or a college degree, or do they have project management like PMP, or do they have their CPA, their CFA? Do they have any type of accreditations outside of it?
Now, what's the importance of mapping that out too?
So the importance is to know your roadmap. So if you're wanting to become a manager, and
I see.
and you know that they have those accreditations, it's going to make yourself that much more employable higher up afterwards.
Are those relevant accreditations that I should have to be in that same position? Okay,
exactly.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
You were talking about boss there, and I have a friend, and she vows, she stands by this so hard, and she always says, if your position isn't, if you're going into a position and you have the choice between the two positions you'd like the same, choose your boss. And in some cases, it's even worth getting a job for the boss rather than the job itself that you'll be doing.
It'll make it that much more enjoyable.
And I totally agree. Having a great boss is some of the best of personal development and career development that you can get.
100%. And actually, I have to say that, for the current role that I have right now, I loved my previous boss. He moved on to another position, but he was working on another project, and he basically left us in the dust. Like our department, awesome guy, amazing guy. But he was busy with other things. So reaching out to him just for holidays, it was like next to impossible. I'd send him a message or I'd call him, no answer. And if then he'd just give a thumbs up for when I'd want holidays. I'm like, all right, I guess I got the holiday approved.
Yeah.
And that was because he was so busy with his other department. And so, but I liked him. He was a very nice guy. And then the new boss I came in, I was worried because I was like, oh, well, he's a nice guy and stuff. And she came in and I was worried. I was just worried because it's change, and she's twice as good. She's there and she's like, hey, we need to figure out what we can do. And she's been proactive in training me even more and even further, and then accommodating me, and then, oh yeah, no problem. And then if there's anything, just call me, and if I can't answer, then I'll make really proactive in that sense. And she's by far one of my favorite bosses I've had in a very long time.
Nice. Yeah. That's a very good compliment.
Yeah. But in that sense, though, you learn from those people. And so how could you go and become someone like them as well?
Yeah.
And not only is it to look at your boss, but look at your team in general. Look at the people that are excelling right now on your team. What makes them look good? So what about them stands out for the bosses? And I'm not saying it's competition. People have to stop looking at their coworkers as a competition.
No, it's true.
If you and I disliked, especially like down. I'm saying down in Toronto, but there's a lot of larger corporations, but there's a lot of dog eat dog type of businesses, and that's actually the culture of the business. It's not the people; it's a culture that they harvested inside of it.
Yeah, you'll progress, but it almost has to be at the cost of others. And like, what kind of
is it really worth it at that point?
Yeah.
But in this case, if you have a good work culture, check someone out who has a lot of potential as well, and keep tabs with them. Like you have good connections with them, a good rapport. Imagine when that person gets promoted over you or something. You better guarantee that if they're the ones promoting people later on, you're probably the next one up.
And if you think that you should have gotten a promotion and someone on your team gets it instead, cheer with them, celebrate with them. You know?
Yeah,
it's what you would want out of someone else, and you should try to be friends with the right people. You know, and I don't mean it in a selfish way.
No,
but you want to be a good friend. It's the golden rule. You treat others how you'd want to be treated.
Yeah.
And you'd hope that if you get that promotion, that person would cheer along with you, say, "Hey, congratulations!"
Exactly. Well, it's also it's all part of the company culture. If you are someone that fits in a company culture, no matter what the culture is, because there are some for every kind of person. Mm-hmm. That's the type of workforce. How are you going to build your plan according to it? If you have an aggressive workforce who promotes people all the time and encourages growth in that sense, well, maybe your 10-year time frame will be to become a boss's boss type of thing.
Right.
Or maybe you have this company that you're in has a larger ladder and it's slow going. So maybe you just want to become just a manager within 10 years.
Yeah.
So create that plan according to what the timeline is, the characteristics of the culture, and just the type of person you are in general too.
Yeah. Another thing I want to add is if you're part of a team and that, rather than competing with each other, if you could be that person who sort of champions success and almost guides the team towards victory, looking forward, you can see a big opportunity where you have a conversation with your boss and you say, "Look, I'm sort of championing this team. I think there's an opportunity for me to become their leader." You're like, "What? Take my job?" You're like, "Yeah. But you could be an upper level manager." And then all of a sudden, you have this plan with your boss to create a position up above.
Yep.
Your boss moves up, you move to their position, and you champion the team that you were already on. You know, the different things like that where you can take your current situation and just propose a slight modification.
There's a lot of different opportunities in that sense, and we're actually going to be talking about that in some of the other segments. Mm-hmm. But to our second segment, though, that kind of wraps up our first one. Our second segment is actually going to be about taking action on the master plan. So we were talking about planning things.
Yeah.
Well, the action is what's most important. I don't care how defined your plan is, but if you're not taking action on it, your plan is garbage. Like
that's probably like 20% of our quotes of the day is about take action.
Yeah,
Kevin
literally.
Hart was one just recently.
Yeah, literally exactly. And so if you have to take any additional training or something or something of that kind, take advantage of what the company has to offer.
Yes. Sometimes
companies will literally pay you while training.
True. Yeah, going to study. Things like that.
It's a bonus. It's not like you're going back to school 100% there. They're willing to go and pay 50% of your education, sometimes 100%. It depends on if it directly benefits. It's a win-win.
Yeah, little night courses, things like that.
Exactly. So don't let it deter you when it comes to the accreditations. It can be difficult and it can be more time consuming than anything. But that's how these people were able to go and build their way up, is by a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Minus the blood.
Well, it depends. Depends on the trade, I guess.
I don't like the saying myself. It's like like someone talking about their marriage. It's like, yeah, I've had a lot of moments of blood, sweat, and tears put into this. But it's like, I really hope there was no blood involved. Like,
Yeah, let's not start trying to picture the scenario where there was each one. So let's just, you know.
but just jokes aside, it's just really important to go and put your time and effort into your master plan at this point.
Yeah.
And if you want to become the boss in that scenario, you also have to start mirroring what your managers are doing.
Yes.
Don't start telling people what to do, because that's never going to go well.
Yeah. As soon as you said mirroring, I was thinking, you know, the classic thing where it's two people in front of each
Like
other.
a mime?
Yeah, just moving their hands according to each other. You start doing that once a day, you'll be your boss in no time.
But being able to, let's say, join in on some meetings, maybe ask if there's some important meetings that you could maybe attend just to learn how it goes. Learn who some of the other bosses are, or managers of other departments. That's an awesome way to do it. And just being able to start knowing their lingo, and because sometimes they're analyzing different things than you are. Some KPIs, some statistics, and just some information that you don't even pay attention to.
And ask questions, you know?
So many questions.
Yeah, like if you have your boss saying, you know, well, I was looking at your performance through the CNR report. You're like, oh, what's a CNR report? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Oh, this year's what it stands for. Oh, what's in there? And then all of a sudden you start getting an understanding of how their job works.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that we have to indicate in regards to kind of like adding to what you're saying is, let's say you figure out how those CNR reports work, or the different things, like just different tasks that you're able to figure out. Mm-hmm. Write those down, and write down the accomplishments that you've done.
Yes. Yeah.
Because those are going to help you so much when it comes to having to sell yourself.
True.
Like, it's going to be so much easier when you have tangible material, like statistics or things that you've done as accomplishments, to be able to go and put on your resume, or just simply go and sell to the HR person.
Yeah, you're right. Let's say I'll give an example with my job. My job is project related. Mm-hmm. So I track my projects similar to SMART goals.
Yep.
Where I say exactly what it is and break down each item. And once it's complete, I put it in green. It was done.
Yep.
So by the end of the year, I get to tally up everything that's green. And I'm like, these are exactly the tasks that I've completed. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, the projects, the initiatives, and here are the exact results from that. And you have it all ready for you.
Yes.
And it's a great way to break down your week as well.
Good point.
You're always thinking, okay, what do I have to do? You refer back to that, and it's all laid out right there for you.
So that's a really, really good way to add on to what I was saying. It kind of moves on to our third segment.
Oh.
And this one I find is important, like the most important of all four of them. And it's to network.
Yes.
And
it's what they say, what is it?
Your network is your net worth.
There you go.
And it's the quickest way to be able to grow.
Yes.
And it's hands down, like, you're able to go and build that rapport with your bosses, the boss's boss, or in any scenario. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to go and stand out above everyone else. That's why, like, they go and do. Why do you think they do internal postings first?
They want to promote people with high potential. They want to make sure to capitalize on them, so they're not. Would
you rather hire someone that you know within the company, or would you rather hire someone that you've just discovered on paper?
Right, you're sort of betting on that because you don't actually know how they work.
No, exactly. So why would I want to go and hire someone outside when I have a good rapport with this person? Hey, they're really good, they're hardworking and everything, and I'm able to go and pay them back for the hard work that they've done.
Yeah, it's a big win. If you have a qualified internal candidate, you know, it's a huge win.
The other thing I have to say, and if this is the biggest thing on top of it, a lot of people, when they say connect with people, they connect on the professional level. If you're able to go a step further and you're able to connect with these people on a more personal level, you just made that connection go from here up to all the way up here.
You've won yourself a bias with from that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not saying a bad thing there just to force yourself in. It's got to come naturally. But just a scenario, like I said, I've had scenarios where I've been on teams that I was invited by someone, a coworker of mine, and the team captain's our boss's boss. It's like, you know what? Sure. I enjoy softball. That was what we were playing. And I got to connect with him on a more personal level, and we had fun. And it's like, you know what? Like, for me in general, it's like, okay, well, I don't care if nothing comes of it, like job wise, but at least I built a valuable connection.
Yeah. And just because there isn't necessarily something to gain career wise, you know, it
doesn't have to be.
Worst case scenario, you made a friend.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see it as well. And I find it like it's a win-win no matter what.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so it's just very important to be able to, I guess you could say, cherish the connections and the network that you're able to build.
And build on the opportunities that are offered to you, you know?
Exactly. And if you're able to go to build those connections, those valuable connections, ask them on their path to where they've become.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
How did you get there? Like, get a glimpse of what their map looks like.
Yeah.
And what their plan was. And you could be pleasantly surprised that you may be on track, or you may be ahead of time.
Sure.
And it's the best way to get an idea of what's going on and what the expectations are for yourself, and if your goals are actually realistic.
Yep.
Because you could go and say, you know what, I want to become a CFO at the age of 35, but if you look at the track record of all the CFOs that the company's had, and they're all 55, 60 years old, it may not be happening unless you decide to change companies there.
Well, that's the thing that's nice, is sometimes you can even bounce ideas. Like,
Yes.
Let's say you go to an event and there's senior leadership. You say, you know, I'm sort of eyeing, like, this here's the general direction I'm eyeing. I'd like to get into this kind of position by this time, and then hopefully I can sort of use that and skyrocket myself, you know, there. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's possible? I don't know. We've never had any young people in this kind of position, but, you know, the industry's changing and we're considering it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there you go. That is a path. It might be viable for me.
A valid path. And actually, the coolest thing is, depending on the type of rapport you have with this person, you can also get yourself a mentor.
Yes.
I think that's something really important to state. I find that my boss that I have currently has become more of a mentor to me.
Nice.
Because I have a strong rapport with her, and I have a lot of trust in her, and I believe in what she does. And also, if I have questions or anything like that, and she's given me a lot of guidelines, more than just what to do day to day, but just between coworkers and stuff, it was just a really good, I consider her more of a mentor now than a boss.
That's
because
fantastic. If you can work your relationship to something like that, I mean, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I'm real happy to hear for you, honestly.
Well, thank you. But it's just certain things that if you're able to go and use those connections correctly, that's an awesome way to go and build your accreditation, build your rapport, build your reputation, build anything in general for advancements in the career that you're looking at.
Yep, agreed.
And the last segment that we're going to be talking about, this one's also more of a realization, and I mean, we said it prior, and I'll say it again. Moving up the ladder takes time, a lot of time.
True.
And the longer you are at a job, the longer it's going to take to go up the ladder.
Yeah, yeah. It's you know, sometimes there's gaps in the ladder too, or
Yeah.
you know those New York ladders where it'll drop down from above and then you can climb up.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
sometimes it won't drop down for a while. You'll be looking up and you'll be like, "Well, if that drops down, I could climb up it, but I still, you know, I need something."
Just picture just jumping like, trying to grab at the ladder.
Yeah.
But for a bit of a fun fact, the average first-time manager is approximately 30 years old. This is according to Forbes.
Okay.
I've even seen Business Network saying some of the Business Insider, I think it was Business Insider saying 33 years old. So early 30s is when people typically become first-time managers.
Interesting.
And like this is the average, and then they say the average age for a manager is around 42 years old.
Okay. What's the difference between first-time manager and manager?
One of them is becoming a manager, and one of them is an established manager.
Oh, okay. The average age for that is, and then the
For
average
all
age
manager, yeah, the average
Gotcha.
age for a first time manager is around 30, 33, and then the average
Okay.
age of a manager in general is around 42 years old.
So a lot of people stay at that level, right? Because
Well-
guess what? Not everyone can go into the executive suite.
No, exactly. And you know what? Like I see it as well. Like I know some of my coworkers who are in their 30s and they're still not managers at the company that I work for.
Yeah, sure.
And
Happens.
yeah, but there's a huge ladder. And I know for a fact that from where I am to the CEO, there's another 8 spots on top of me. It's like, oh my God. But that's all part of a large company.
Yeah, and you know, a large company can have many opportunities, but can also complicate the way up to the top.
Well, that's another thing too. Like, I'll keep that to the end there.
Well, I'd like to add a little something actually.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and this here's just a nice tip. Something that I've heard when I was younger was I'd bring up something. I'm like, hey, I noticed this here was going on. Okay, well, what are we going to do about it? This was at my first job.
Yep.
Well, what are we going to do about it? And then it's like, oh, I guess I hadn't exactly thought of that. And, you know, that's where I was able to develop some skills.
Yep.
And I think Henry Ford, who's the person we're quoting this week,
Yes.
said it best. Henry Ford says, don't find fault, find a remedy. Anybody can complain. So finding
like
a
that,
problem
yes.
is just a complaint, but finding a solution makes you a valuable asset for the team.
Yeah.
So that's one way that you can stand out is if you start proposing solutions whenever there's a problem. I found a problem, and here's where I think we could go. Your manager can usually say, oh, that's interesting. I think we should go maybe a little bit more in this direction, but I like that you propose a solution. And now you stand out, and that'll actually develop your opportunities to
Yes.
go up the corporate ladder.
Wow. Very well said. I like that because it's true. And actually, it ties really well into what we were saying. Well, it ties really well with the next point that I had in regards to this here, was that when you're moving up, continue working exceptionally.
Yes.
Collaborate with the people who are around you. So if you become a supervisor, work with the other supervisors and
Yes.
see which ones you that work best with, and move up with them. And that's how you're able to go and that's keep pivoting around.
Yeah.
And with every time your environment's going to change, you're going to meet new people, you're going to have new issues, but there's solutions to those issues. You
Yeah.
have to find a way to. You're gonna have to find a solution to it all.
You know, I was in a supervisor position where I had teams that I had to divide labor in a certain way. And basically, you don't want your people not to be working because then that's not good. And other supervisors would have people that they want their people working.
Yep.
But we would work every single day and make sure that we split labor. Sometimes I might have more work and I'm able to share, vice versa.
Yep.
But our people were always working. There were some that maybe they didn't want to share. But it made my connection with that other supervisor a lot better. It made all of our KPIs look better because our people were working.
Yep.
And you're totally right. It's teamwork with everyone around you, and when you start, working together for the common goals, that's where you'll see great success. And the managers surely noticed, at the same time.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing I have to also add to like what you're piggybacking to what you're saying is respect, experience, solid networks and everything like that are not done in a month or 2 months or 3 months, 6 months or a year. It takes years, even decades to build them.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not, you can't just jump in and boom, you're the best person there.
Yeah. I had a friend who wanted a job at the company that I work at. And he said, I think I'd be good to go into this, and I think I can be a vice president by the age of 30. And I'm there, and I'm like, it's not completely impossible. But man, is the mountain huge. And I don't know if you want that to be your pitch right off the bat,
That's aggressive.
If you're going to do that, because to be vice president means you'll kick a lot of people out of the way. So you may want to say something like, I want to be in a managerial role before I hit my 30s.
Yep.
And that can set the expectation of, okay, this guy's trying to go faster, but, not kicking everyone out the way. And once you have a proven record of that, then that leap gets a little bit easier. But, man, you are blazing a path forward if you're saying that.
Hey, we can all have big goals, but doesn't mean they're all realistic. That's why I always said at the beginning, you have to be realistic with your goals there.
Well, that's why I like your last point so much is, this takes time. Experience, respect, it takes time. And that's another thing, too, is everyone wants to go so fast, but you have time. Your working career is going to be pretty long if that's the path that you're staying on. So give yourself time, be able to settle in your job and truly master what it is. And then it is appropriate to move on sometimes, too. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Speaking of time, that's the other thing to add to this is the higher the position you're going for, the more time it's going to take to dedicate to your life. So if you are the vice president of a massive company, you're probably going to be available 24/7.
Yeah, it's not a 40 hours a week.
No. Your life now revolves around that. Is that something that you want?
Yeah.
If it is, then by all means, go for it. You're going to be making 6 figures, sometimes even 7 figures to accommodate that. Yeah. But is it really something that you want? That's your discretion.
Yeah, and that should be part of your plan too. Consider those when you're writing your plan.
Our last thing that I have to say for this episode is be open to change jobs as well.
Yes.
Like the quickest way to move up a ladder is when you're jumping to different ladders.
Yeah, you're right. It's like when it may be you have to do corporate parkour.
Yeah.
Maybe that ladder won't be dropped down, but there's one right here. Oh, look at that. Okay, maybe I'll just grab this one, then I'll be able to jump back and forth and make your way up. It's possible.
Exactly. It most definitely is possible. And that's the quickest way to start getting paid more and just start getting those titles that you're looking for.
Yeah, you're right.
So with that being said, that is episode 140, how to move up the corporate ladder.
That was a fun one. We don't touch on this topic much, but
no,
I think there's lots of value, and it applies to a lot of people too.
I agree 100%, and that's kind of why we had to cover it. It's not just about business; also involves your work. So I had to include that.
Some people don't even want or they'll do business and they're like, I'm fed up with this whole business thing, man. Let's just go back to a regular job.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, my name is Owen Paradis. I'm here with my co-host, William Goulet. We're proud to present to you the College of Wealth podcast. Peace.
Two fingers, peace.
This has been your daily dose of motivation with the College of Wealth podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening, and until next episode.